next tool within the lifestyle section on the Successful Drumming product is something I call the Inspired Drummer. Now, there have been countless times where I've been practicing behind the kit or even away from the kit, and I just get down on myself about how I'm progressing at the drums, or what's happening with my band and my music in general, and I just get really, really down and almost sometimes a little bit depressed. So I put together the Inspired Drummer as a resource for you that you can go to anytime you like and just pull some tips and advice to really, really give yourself a list. So basically, I've narrowed it down to 10 different things that you can do to really inspire yourself to play drums or just be inspired by music in general, because music is such an awesome thing to be a part of. The first thing you can do to be inspired is listen to music. And I think this gets underestimated. And so you might be already listening to music but still feeling a little bit depressed or still feeling down and out. So what I'd recommend you to do there is listen to something that you wouldn't have normally listened to. Okay, listen to something a little bit outside of your musical box that you've put yourself in. There's been so many times when I will be listening to rock music and just straight ahead pop, top 40 stuff, and I'm just feeling like everything's sounding the same. And then I go play in the drum set and like, wow, everything is sounding the same. It's like, well, I'm listening to everything that, in my opinion, sounds very, very similar, so maybe I should start listening to something a little bit different and develop a taste for something a little bit different. So even just recently, I've been listening to a lot more jazz, world music, and stuff that's not necessarily, what I play a lot of. But just listening to it opens up my mind and just gives me inspiration to actually, start practicing this stuff and take my drumming in a little bit different of a direction than I normally would have. The next thing you can do to inspire yourself is watch drum videos. Now, we literally have thousands of hours, if not hundreds of thousands of hours, of content at our fingertips. Okay, you can sit down and you can watch hours upon hours of drumming videos and drumming videos that inspire you, okay, from drummers who are just absolutely amazing. There's so many drummers out there nowadays, and with the internet and with technology, it's allowed us to access those drummers way easier than it was before. Think about, in the 60s and the 70s. I wasn't even alive then, okay, but even think about when I was born. I was born in 1981. What was around then? The internet wasn't even around, and so there wasn't that level of connectivity. And so if I wanted to get inspired back then, I would have to go somewhere, drive to a place to be inspired. Now we literally sit down, we type a few keywords, Thomas Lang, Dennis Chambers, Dave Weckl, type in any of those guys' names, and you're going to get a list of videos that you can sit through and watch and literally be inspired. Now, I will say one thing is, don't always watch the videos there, the guys are just going all over the kit and it sounds like just a machine gun going nuts. Really try and find videos where the guys are just grooving, where it may be a live band playing and you can watch the drummer and see what he's doing. And then you kind of get that feeling of being on stage and actually performing. And I think that'll be really, really inspirational for you. Also with drum videos, I'd really, really encourage you to spend some money on that kind of quality content as well. These drummers, they need to feed their families. They need to put food on the table. They need to, fund their gear acquisition syndrome, or some people call it gas. And so don't be afraid to, put your money where your mouth is, and if something inspires you and someone really, pushes you to get better as a musician and as a drummer, really give back to them and purchase their instructional product, purchase their, band DVD, or purchase something that they're releasing that really, really inspires you. Now, the third thing is to jam with other drummers. When I first started teaching drums, I actually got a few of my students together and we just hung out. We jammed a little bit. We all, one person played the drums and we stood around them and watched them. And then the other person got to play and everyone else watched, and you just kind of trade off. And it's so inspirational to see what other people are learning. And it's not about who's better. It's not about, oh, that guy's better than me and now I can't play. It gets you comfortable playing in front of other people, as well as it's very inspirational. There's so many of those times where I would jam with other drummers, for hours, and then they would leave, and I would still jam for a few more hours on my own, just because I was so inspired. Now, the fourth thing is to read drum literature, whether that be on newspaper, magazines, whether that's online magazine, whether that's articles. I don't care the medium. All I care is that you are reading stuff on other drummers. When you read interviews or when you read about drummers' gear setup, it's amazing how much that can inspire you because it allows your imagination to go wild and allows you to just like put yourself in their shoes and be in a different place. When you're looking at pictures, you're watching a video, it's different, it's great, but it's different than actually reading something about that drummer. And so I think it can be very, very inspirational to do, and it's something you should absolutely try. The fifth thing you can do is to film drum videos. I loved doing this when I was first starting, and I never showed anyone, and I've deleted and thrown away the tapes because I don't want to show anyone. It's just for my own enjoyment. I was able to film myself playing drums, and back when I was doing it, the cameras were horrible. Nowadays, the cameras have gotten way better. But I was able to film myself, and it just felt so good to listen back after and be like, oh, that sounded better than I felt I played it. And it really, really inspired me to continue practicing and continue playing. Another thing I want to say is if you can't film yourself, try and record audio. There's ways with smartphones and tablets and computers that you can definitely still try and record some audio from your practice session. And you don't have to watch yourself on camera if that's something that makes you feel uncomfortable, but at least you can hear what you're doing and hear what others will be listening to if you were to perform. The sixth inspirational tip I can give you is to take private drum lessons. Now, with new technology and all that, we feel like we can do it on our own. We feel like we have the information here, we can do whatever we want. But that information we get doesn't always initiate the correct emotional response, okay? Sometimes we need a deeper connection. We need a deeper connection with someone else. So whether that be Jam with Drummers or whether that be you going to a private drum instructor and saying, here's whatever your rate is, let's hang out and talk about drums. Okay? Check your ego at the door. I don't care how good you are. You can learn something from anyone. You can take lessons from someone who you think isn't as good of a drummer as you are, but you could still learn a ton. Okay? That's one of my things is I learn from my students every single day. Every single day, my students will teach me something or they will inspire me. And so it's really important for drummers to connect in that way, and it's really important for us to support each other. So go ahead, find a private teacher. Whether you book a lesson a week, a lesson every 2 weeks, or a lesson a year, it doesn't matter. Just at least do it every once in a while because you'd be surprised how inspiring it actually is, especially if you find the correct teacher. The seventh thing I want to tell you guys about is very, very biased, but it's something I've had the huge pleasure to be a part of, and it's something I've seen other drummers have results with, and that is get a Drumeo Edge membership. Now with Drumeo, it's a place where drummers basically hang out and get to know each other through online video, through live sessions, through many, many different things. If you're watching this years from when this video was filmed, I'm sure it's something completely different and something way better, okay? So I don't want to give you even too many details on it now. I just know that being a part of Drumeo has changed drummers' lives, and it has inspired them for the better, okay? It's not only improved their musical life and their musical journey, but it's also improved people's personal lives. And I just can't say enough good things about the community of drummers over at Drumeo. So if you can, go ahead and check that out. No pressure, but I know I'm biased and I obviously am going to love it, but you need to decide for yourself if it's something you want to do. So go ahead and check it out, and I'm sure you'll absolutely love it. Now the next thing is going to sound a little bit weird. This is inspirational tip number 8, and that is just to take a break. If you find that every time you sit down at drums, you're getting upset or it's frustrating you, maybe it's time to just say, okay, 1 week, no drums. Or 2 days, no drums. And when you sit down at the drums after that break, you will find yourself falling back in love with the drum set. And that's totally fine to do. Now, if you're under the gun to learn something, you obviously shouldn't do that. But a lot of us, we do this for our own enjoyment, and it's just as a hobby. And so if that's the case with you, then just go ahead, take a break, because it's most important that you are enjoying it. And it's most important that you are having fun with it. And so taking a break is a really, really good thing to do. It also gives your muscles some time just to rejuvenate and lock in that muscle memory, so when you do get back to the kit, a lot of times you'll find that you're faster, you're playing better, and that you're actually more creative. The 9th inspirational tip I can give you is to go to a concert. Now, I've been to a few concerts. I'm not a huge concert goer, but there's 2 that really, really stick out. The first was when I went to see a John Mayer concert. It was just unbelievable to watch Steve Jordan play live. Okay, he is just such a fantastic drummer, and the groove and the comfort that he played with was just phenomenal. It was in a big stadium, but I mean, sitting there listening to him, it was just insane. It was perfect. It was drummer's heaven. And the second time was when I went to a little jazz club, a very small, like maybe 100 people. They served food and wine and stuff like that. But I was 5-10 feet from the stage, and there was a grand piano, a little drum set, an upright bass, and then there was a trumpet player there as well. And just sitting there and listening to that music, being so close to it, was so inspirational. So you guys definitely need to do that. Wherever it be, just go and enjoy some live music. And it also really helps support the music community, which is another benefit of you getting inspired. Now the final thing in the Inspired Drummer, and this I think is one of the best things you could do, is to go to a drum clinic. The first drum clinic I ever went to was by Dave Weckl, and my teachers were kind enough to actually take me to this clinic, and I remember leaving there just absolutely hopped up. I felt like I was on cloud nine because I went straight home and I practiced drums for the next 3 days straight. And he was such a amazing clinician, and all I remember really is him playing and playing a lot. But I just remember watching him play with such fluidity and such ease, and then he showed a little bit about the molar and the motions and stuff like that, and I was just absolutely floored. I felt like my world had opened up, and I felt like I knew tons more information just from watching him. So it's amazing how much you can get inspired from going to drum clinics. I've created a little progress chart for you to fill out. Now the first column is going to list what you want to do to be inspired behind the kit or to become a better musician. So list whatever that is. You can take one of my examples, like go to a drum clinic, but I would prefer if you be more specific, like go to this concert on this date, or find a drum clinic to see in the next 3 months. Something very, very specific like that. The next column is where you list your ideal result. So what is the result of you actually achieving that and you actually doing that thing to be inspired? Okay, so write that in. So if it was go to a drum clinic, the result of that is you get to hang out with other drummers and possibly even get a connection with the guy giving the drum clinic and maybe an autograph or something like that. And then the third column is what is your first action step. So what do you need to do first to make this happen today? Okay, so maybe it is go to the local music store and look at the board to see the upcoming clinics, or call the local music store, or look on the internet and see when the next clinic is in your area. You just need to find out what you need to do first to make this happen. So I've given you this worksheet. I want you to go ahead and fill all that out now, and then I actually want you to follow through on this stuff, and you'll be absolutely shocked at what level of inspiration that you'll have. And people will wonder, like, what happened? You're playing drums way more now. You seem to be loving the instrument way more than you used to. Like, what happened? You just are a completely different person. And I know that'll happen because I know that this system absolutely works. So once you've done all that, you can go ahead and move on to the final tool called the Connected Drummer.